Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my homeowner association completely scammed me and made me pay way more than I should have for monthly HOA fees. They then claimed that they never received my money and ended up trying to steal my property. I sued them and got revenge. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. To start things off very bluntly, my HOA has a tendency to try and scare people into getting what they want, aka being like the mafia. Similar to a way a bully on the playground picks on the smaller kids because they are bigger and know they can win. This is something that everyone in the neighborhood is aware of and is the reason that people follow the rules of the HOA even if we believe them to be stupid. Just giving one example, last year on Halloween they made rules regulating what kind of decorations people could put up. I live in the Bible Belt for reference, and they wanted to make sure that nothing put up for the holiday was satanic. If you went against the HOA, you would get slammed not only with fines but threats of being kicked out of the neighborhood. Nobody was willing to stand up to them in fear of painting a target on their back and possibly losing their house. Heck, I was one of those people, and the only reason I ended up having problems with the HOA was because of something out of my control. My kid had gotten into an accident, and while he was fine, thankfully, I still was left with medical bills to pay. When it came to deciding between paying medical or paying the HOA on time, it really was a no-brainer for me. My son comes before anything else, and I assumed they would understand getting their monthly dues a paycheck later. I even tried to do the right thing and reach out to them explaining the situation so they did not think that I was ignoring them. Instead, I got a reply saying that I should be more careful with how I spent my money and started piling late fees every single day from what I owed them supposedly. A $250 payment ended up costing me over $1,000, and I paid it because I didn't want to cause any problems with the HOA. I was upset of course, but it was done and I wanted to just get on with my life and not make a big problem out of it. Instead though, a month later when I got my bill from them, it reflected that I was still getting late fees even though I already had paid. They told me I had a month to pay them the money or they were gonna foreclose on my house. They started making the late fees more expensive and wanted me at that point to give them $5,000, which I obviously did not have. I was terrified of losing my house even though I paid them what I owed. One of my coworkers saw how distressed I was and told me that she knew a lawyer I could get a free consultation with. I explained the problem and he told me that I should not give them a single penny because they were actually violating the law and I could sue them. Suddenly, the shy, scared me that did not want any trouble had vanished, and now with a lawyer on my side, I felt like taking on the HOA was not the scary task that it was when I was alone. I know that legal talk can get confusing or boring, so I will try and sum up what he told me. Firstly, it was actually in their bylaws that residents all had 1 month grace period if they had paid dues on time for the past 24 months, meaning that I should not have had to pay the first set of late fees. Additionally, there are laws regarding things like how debt have to be collected and a whole mess that goes on with the HOA side of things. Clearly they did not do it because they are not allowed to start harassing people about debt that had already been paid. So I was suing them by being in violation of that law, their own bylaw, and for harassment. When I got to court, the HOA board looked smug, thinking that they were gonna foreclose on my house and make a ton of money they didn't deserve in the process. Also, for those wondering, since I still had a high mortgage on the house and the HOA had been adding fees daily until the court date, it would not have been overkill on their part. Anyway, they talked to the judge and pointed out in their bylaws all the things they could use to try and get my house foreclosed on, claiming that I was not paying my dues and even going so far as to say that my actions might spark problems in the rest of the neighborhood. It was a low-blow comment to try and be dramatic, and then my lawyer said what we were countersuing for, and honestly, I could not keep up with the lawyers. The judge did have some questions for me though. Judge, did you make a payment on first day to the HOA? No, Your Honor. Judge, why did you miss your payment? Well, my son had to go to the hospital, so I needed that money for his medical bills. Judge, did you pay the HOA on the second date? Me? Yes, of course, $1,000, and I have the record of my check here. That was something the HOA was not counting on me having and basically was the catalyst that blew everything wide open. From there, the dominoes all fell and the HOA was found guilty of inappropriate debt collection and harassment. I was not only getting my payment back, but I was also getting a cash settlement. I know some of you reading this might think that I made the wrong choice taking the money instead of making it a long legal battle. Like I said before though, my son is the most important thing to me, and the $50,000 they ended up paying me is gonna be very good for his college fund. Besides, the whole situation changed the way things worked a little bit. People around the neighborhood learned the HOA was not invincible and couldn't just do anything they wanted. The HOA backed off a little bit because if they had to pay huge settlements to every person they wronged, then they would not have a single penny left. I do believe that when you owe somebody money, you should give it to them. I also think if somebody owes you money, you should try and work with or at least listen to what they have to say. This entire thing could have been avoided if they just understood the money would be 2 weeks late. Or even got their payment and then stopped at that point and getting away with 4 times the amount of money it should have been. Instead, they pushed me to the edge where I had no choice but to fight back and ended up destroying them. To everybody that read till the end, I just want to let you know that no matter how small you might think you are, you can still stand up and fight the bigger bully. They might try and keep you scared, but that does not mean you cannot win. And the next one is titled, "Stupid Person Hit My Car." So, someone I know hit my car while it was parked where he works. At first he was so apologetic and said he would do anything to make it right. Then it came out that he is uninsured. With that knowledge, I tried my best to avoid a police report because he could easily get in legal trouble. I was trying my best to be nice, so the 2 options were either he pays the body shop in full, almost $3,000, or he pays the deductible for my insurance. Repairs are made and then he works with the insurance to pay them back, even if this means garnishment. At least this would avoid suspension of his license or right to register. Anyway, I text him just expressing the importance of figuring this out because we have 30 days to file and it was already a week and a half since. My insurance agent also asked me to relay that the paying the deductible and then paying them is best to avoid repercussions, so I did exactly that. Mind you, I've been nice this entire time, even though he totally trashed my car because he decided to whip out of a parking space way too fast and the wrong way without looking. I did not even tell anyone else but my agent, mother and grandma, partner and boss, since I had to go to my vehicle while working. He proceeds to text me, "I've been driving longer than you've been born. I think I know this stuff." He is maybe 40, I am 26. It's not like he's been driving for 50 plus years. Plus, no matter how long you have driven, it does not make you knowledgeable or good at driving. So I respond that there's really no need for sarcasm, and I was just relaying something I was specifically asked to by my agent. He continues with that I'm lecturing him. I told him it was not a lecture, just a message being relayed. If anything, it was my agent lecturing him for driving uninsured for 6+ months. He continued on and on, even saying, "I can do this all day, and every text you send I can respond," even when I had stopped and asked him to not ever contact me again. Since he wanted to play this game, I decided to not only tell my insurance to go after him for whatever they can, I instead included everything where he admitted fault so they can use it in court when they go after him. And then I even filed a police report so we can obtain the video evidence of him hitting my car. So yeah, now he is at risk for losing his license and right to register. Do I really care? No. It is simple, don't drive without insurance, and also don't be rude to the person you hit who is trying to help you out even though you are completely at fault. Not the most petty I've been, but it was fun. Update to the story, wow, I didn't expect this kind of attention to my mild pettiness, but I love it. So he's actually getting what he deserves for driving like an idiot, driving without insurance and being a total ass to me. Police report was officially filed and my insurance just got it. I might even request the video footage just for giggles. Anyway, to add to the story. So basically, he is my partner's shift manager. That is why I really tried to work with him. Thankfully, my partner's work is not being affected by this since I told him to play the ignorant card and he pretends he has no idea what's going on, but in reality he wishes he could go off on the guy, which I totally get. I spoke directly to the general manager and he assured me multiple times that my partner will not be treated any differently since he's a great employee, plus the shift manager is obviously at fault and really dumb for picking a fight with me. So it feels great to know that I was not just being petty without reason. I know the accident part was a good reason, but gosh, his attitude just really irks me still. I seriously tried so hard and waited 2 weeks for him to figure stuff out. He ignored me for at least a week and a half when I would ask if he has gotten anything in order. It's just crazy to me that people who are clearly at fault and the one at the most risk will be the worst to the ones trying to help. Car is scheduled to get in the shop early December. I will be out $500 for some time until he is sought after, so Christmas might take a hit, but I think it's worth watching him squirm. I say that because all their coworkers mock him for what he did, and anytime it's mentioned he gets nervous because he thinks my partner will go off on him for how he spoke to me. And the next one is titled, I called social services on my elderly neighbor. Am I the butthole? So I, 50 female, have an elderly neighbor, 83 female, she lives alone but her son, 60 male, comes to check on her a couple of times a week. Just for context, I and my DH, 49, are retired early and financially comfortable. Also for context, I'm a black woman and my elderly neighbor is white. So to my issue, my elderly neighbor has a lot of health issues which causes limitations. She cannot cook for herself, she cannot clean, she is incontinent and soils herself regularly. Her son lives 2 hours away and only visits at the most 2 times a week. I took it upon myself to take care of my neighbor. I go to her house every morning to administer her meds and make her breakfast. I make sure that she does her physical therapy exercises, buy her groceries at our expense. Sometimes I even stay over at her house if she is feeling particularly bad that day. So one day I noticed a camera inside of her house and I asked her son about it when he dropped by. I thought that maybe he put it there to watch her in real time in case anything happens to her. But nope, he told me that he put it there to make sure that no one took advantage of her or stole from her, and I'm the only person who goes to her house. I told him that I was uncomfortable with him spying on me and he got upset and told me to not ever come to his mother's house again and that he will come over daily to help her. He lives 2 hours away and works, so I then complied. It was hard, but I don't want legal issues. We noticed that he hadn't been to check on her for about 2 days, so at the risk of being arrested, I went to check on her and she was indeed hungry and sitting in her own filth, so I called adult services. And they now have him under investigation for elderly neglect and I've been appointed her caregiver until everything is sorted out. His wife keeps calling me telling me that I am ruining her husband's life and he could lose his job and license. He is a LPN. Another neighbor said that I could have handled it better by calling him. My elderly neighbor told me that he said that he didn't mean any harm by recording me and that he's had some bad experiences with black employees and he was just trying to protect himself, not her but him. She does not think like that, but her husband did. Am I the a-hole for calling AS or should I have called him first? And yeah guys, let me know in the comments what you think about OP in this story. Do you think that he is the a-hole or not? A user in the comments said, not the a-hole, he should lose his license. You're a saint for looking out for your neighbor's welfare, especially at the expense of your time and energy. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. First and foremost, you are never gonna be an a-hole for calling adult services if an older adult is unsafe, being neglected, or potentially the victim of any kind of elderly abuse. You have seriously gone out of your way to provide much needed care for his mother at your own expense because he was neglecting her. Instead of thanking you, or I don't know, reimbursing you maybe, he treated you like a thief. I mean, he could have lied about the camera, he could have said it was to keep an eye on his mother. But he told you outright that it was to keep an eye on you, as if there was nothing even slightly offensive about that. You did not get him in trouble. His own behavior got him in trouble. And the next one is titled, HOA yells at me for training guide dog and grilling, then loses position on the board. To start the story, some background you need to know about me. I volunteer to train and raise service dogs. My fiance says clearly I have a look that says I am weak and a pushover. I have constant encounters with Karens who are just not ready for my responses when they engage me. I have been in the military for 17 years when this happened, and I was responsible for managing over 130 service members. I am anything but a pushover. I work with civilians, so I have cultivated a polite exterior because I was counseled for looking unapproachable and scary to civilian counterparts. The story, as I said, I raise service animals, so I fall under the ADA when it comes to regulations on where and what I can do with my puppy. We will call him O. O is an amazingly behaved black lab of 6 months. I have cultivated a level of trust and obedience where I can leave him in a sit with other dogs around so long as I am in eyesight he will stay. I have raised a few pups by then and I would never have done that with them, but O is amazing and I cannot wait to get him back after his tour of duty helping Mrs. C be independent. I meet the HOA Karen one Saturday. Me and my fiance and O were going to head on a road trip to visit my fiance's parents. In our preparation, the last on the list is always getting the kids to use the bathroom before a long trip. So we head out, O gets busy and I grab a bag to clean it up. I put him in a sit-stay and hand the leash to my girl. And I start walking to the trash can. It is about 100 feet from where he went. I have a clear line of sight to the dog and he is sitting patty and alert and watching me intently for a hand cue or a voice command. As I am walking, I hear a woman screech. I don't quite make it out, but it sounds angry. I ignore it and keep walking to the dumpster deposit my waste bag and turn around to head back to my 2 favorite people. It is then I make eye contact with the HOA Karen from here on out. She is your typical Karen, not an inch over 5 foot and has the same circumference. The short chopped hair that says, "I'm the manager now." She looks me in the eyes and I finally listen to her shrill scream of, "Your dog must be on a leash and in your hand. My county state law says so. I will call the cops." Now, I don't do ignorant and respect given is respect earned. I was willing to try and de-escalate. My fiancé owns the condo and is super non-confrontational. So for her, I tried to bring it back down to civil levels of discussion. In a polite but firm voice, I asked if she even looked over at the dog before she started yelling at me. She just bellows like a banshee again and I repeat. This back and forth happens 3 or 4 times, me calm, her escalating in pitch and volume. At this point she has not given respect, so none is required to be given back. I break out my "You done effed up" NCO to junior voice. It is loud, firm and clearly states I am done with your BS, lady. I clearly tell her if she would have taken 2 seconds to look, she would see the dog is sitting on a leash in someone's hands. She stops bellowing at me, looks and turns a bit red in the face and then musters, "You could just say thank you," which I curtly reply, "Shut the F up and get out of my face." She waddled quickly off, tail tucked into her condo door. My next meeting with her was when I was grilling. The HOA states no charcoal grills and no smoking barbecue. I was born in the north, but as a military brat moved to the south since I was 2. There is a difference between barbecuing and grilling. Barbecue is 12+ hours with coals of hardwood or wood smoking. Grilling is cooking meat on a grill instead of the stove. The HOA put out a reminder, no barbecuing on the premises and no coals. So I was like, awesome, get a small propane grill, it's not barbecue, but it's better than nothing. So I was out grilling and I hear the banshee cry, all too familiar now. Again, she did not come up to me and talk, she just started screaming. So I looked her right in the eye and with the same firm voice, "Shut the F up and go away. If you say one more word, I will be the one calling the cops for harassment by an HOA member." She sputtered something about no grilling or open flames and I told her F off, show me in writing and by someone other than her. She waddled off and then I was approached by the HOA president with the HOA bylaws and said to read them. during which my fiancé started a conversation with them about another issue we were having with them. She was in the middle of having the state attorney's office ask some questions about activities they were trying to force her into paying for. It was not going well for the HOA, and she took this opportunity to introduce herself. While she may be non-confrontational when it comes to small things, she will stand up for herself when it comes to it. Her introducing herself changed everyone's tone, and they became oh so polite. Karen tried to play the victim to her and say I was mean and could use some manners when engaging with people. I love my soon-to-be wife. She let her paint her tale how she was a victim. When she finished, she looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You know, I was the one holding the leash and I was standing right here when he was grilling, so no, you got the same respect you gave." She paled and faded to the back. That is when the president of the HOA stepped in and told me I cannot have the grill and that I can be fined, and I needed to follow the rules of the HOA or the next time he will be the one calling the cops. Well, press Roger that. It is my job to enforce regulations in the military. I spend hours reading instructions. Nothing pleases me more than when I can shove the black and white in an a-hole's face at work to get my guys what they are owed or to force them to do the job right. So, you want me to follow the rules? Copy that, buddy. So I began my research. I found a few interesting things. Number 1. No HOA bylaw can be enforced if it is not the state database. Number 2. This particular HOA's bylaws were last updated 1994. It was 2016. They state they follow my county's fire code, which follows NFPA, and finally the GEM, the exact lat and long coordinates of the HOA's property lines. So I get a login for the state's database and print the HOA bylaws. I print the NFPA, which states in a multi-family home you can store propane tanks no bigger than 2.7 liters, but they can total no more than 5.4 liters together. I go to Lowe's, get a rope tape measurer and stakes. I pull up Google Maps and mark the HOA boundary line on it. Lo and behold, what do I find? A drainage ditch that is city property, not 10 feet from where I was grilling. So I take my coordinates, my stakes, and go carefully mark off the section of city property. Now for the revenge. I call the city/county fire departments and request a permit to grill on said city property. They said go for it. I did not need a permit for it, no one would care. I insisted and they said it is my $50. They issued an even open flame, so with both permits it was $100, but I got permission from the city to grill there for 6 months. The next day at 7 o'clock I went to set up. Carefully measuring so I was at least 3 feet onto the city property, set up my cooler with enough meat and beer to grill till doomsday, then waited for the fireworks. It did not take long for Karen to come screaming at me. I mean, I was 10 feet from the community pool and 3 feet from the sidewalk gazebo that led to the pool. I just hit record on my phone and politely told her she has no need to yell and I am breaking no laws. She kept screaming about no grilling and how she is tired of me and she's going to get me arrested and kicked out if it is the last thing she does. She has not liked me since she saw me and has just been waiting to get me kicked out. That now that she knows which condo is mine, it is just a matter of time till she finds something. On and on. I guess me polite and showing zero fear was pissing her off and she tried to come take my stuff. Big no-no. As she reached for my cooler, I broke out my NCO voice and told her if she so much as brush a finger against my property, I would remove the offending body part with force if necessary. This sent her scurrying off again. About 20 minutes later, I see 2 cop cars pull up and Mr. HOA president himself. He is all chummy with the cops and as they approach I hear him say, "Yep, same guy. I already told him once before, he cannot grill on the HOA grounds." He comes to a stop about 10 feet from me, 1 cop stays with him, the other keeps walking up to me. I have a deep grin on my face. I can hardly wait for the conversation to happen. The cop is slightly off-put by my joyous face and slight giggle when I ask what seems to be the problem, officer. I get informed that I am in violation of the bylaws and have been warned once already, and I am going to receive a ticket for disturbing the peace for threatening the HOA when they were trying to enforce the rules. Ticket for an illegal open flame, ticket for illegal storage of flammable substances, on and on. The last was if I didn't pack up I would be arrested and removed. Now that he was done, I first handed him my permit from the city to grill. He took it, walked back to the president, and they discussed it for a moment, then returned and says, "You cannot get a permit from the city to grill on private property." I then showed him the coordinates for the HOA and the Google Maps gridded drawing and my current GPS location. Mind you, I am smiling, handing sheet after sheet to him because the grid was not all on one sheet and had addendums. Took about 4 minutes to explain it to him. As I was about to hand him more, he held up a hand to stop me. He then asks how long I had planned this with a smirk. I told him, "Oh, about a week." He gave me a look of disbelief but moved on. He then asked me if I threatened Karen. I just played back the recording to him and then at the end he said nothing, "Seems out of place here, you are free to go." I stopped him and asked if I could file a complaint for HOA harassment through him. He said no, that the city clerk office is the correct place, but he would document harassment by the two of them and file the report for me. In my state, it is illegal to be harassed by the HOA. It comes with jail of a few months, fines as high as 5K, and immediate removal from the board and the possibility of recovery of damages. I settled for them both being removed from the board instead of filing a complaint. I waved to Karen every day I grill or showed her my leash if I had to. Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my homeowner association completely scammed me and made me pay way more than I should have for monthly HOA fees. They then claimed that they never received my money and ended up trying to steal my property. I sued them and got revenge. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story.